Greetings, our Frederick Riddle here with another episode of Christian News and Views. This is another big day. I've already changed this our format to being two uh, Bible talks. Well, today represents another change. The Friday recap is gone. I'm not going to be doing that anymore. Instead, Friday is going to be a day which can be used for Bible talk or news and views, sort of a free day. Today, we are going to look at the Ukrainian and Russian talks. So let's take a look at this article here. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said he plans to meet his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump in Florida Sunday as part of efforts to reach a peace deal to end Russia's nearly 4-year war in Ukraine. Speaking to reporters Friday, Zelensky cautioned that he could not say whether the meeting would lead to a firm agreement, but said the two sides would aim to finalize as much as we can. Earlier on Friday, the Ukrainian leader had struck an optimistic note, writing on X that a lot can be decided before the new year. Zelensky told reporters that the 20-point peace plan hammered out by Ukrainian and U.S. officials is 90% ready, and that he planned to discuss with Trump how Ukraine's allies could guarantee its security in the future. There was no immediate confirmation of the upcoming meeting from the White House. Zelensky's announcement comes after he offered to compromise on some of the thorniest issues that have so far stalled the U.S. mediated peace process with Russia. It is not clear, however, whether Zelensky's concessions will satisfy the Kremlin. The initial 28-point peace plan, which emerged in November following talks between the United States and Russia, was criticized by Ukraine's allies as heavily favoring Moscow, which it did. Following weeks, following weeks of talks between Ukrainian and U.S. officials, that draft has been slimmed down to the current 20-point plan, which Zelensky has said can serve as a foundational document on ending the war. Zelensky told reporters that Ukraine had not received an official response from the Kremlin to the latest proposal. He said Kiev is negotiating exclusively with Washington, which in turn is communicating with Moscow. In my opinion, I see now that the agreement between us and the United States is almost ready, Zelensky said. He stressed, however, that any peace deal will also need to be approved by Russia and Ukraine's European allies. If Russia does not agree to the peace plan drafted by Ukraine and the United States, Zelensky suggested that more should be done to force Moscow's hand. If Ukraine shows its position, it is constructive, and Russia, for example, does not agree, then the existing pressure is not enough, Zelensky said, adding that he wants to discuss this with Trump. Russia's central demands are for Ukraine to demand its ambition to join NATO, which was a distant prospect before Moscow launched its all-out invasion of the country in February 2022, and for Kiev's military to withdraw fully from Ukraine's eastern Donetsk and Luhansk regions, a vast area known as the Donbass. It was here that the Kremlin started destabilizing Ukraine in 2014, helping pro-Russian separatists gain control of most of the area. The Donbass was eventually illegally annexed by Russia in September 2022. Zelensky has offered concessions on both issues. During a wide-ranging press conference Tuesday to discuss the new 20-point peace plan, Zelensky said Ukraine was seeking security guarantees from its allies that would mirror NATO's Article 5, which requires all members to defend any member that has become under attack, but would no longer pursue full membership of the military alliance. Zelensky also said Ukraine would be willing to withdraw its troops from parts of the Donetsk region not currently occupied by Russian forces. The Ukraine leader said any withdrawal of troops would have to be reciprocal, with Moscow giving up as much Ukrainian territory as that ceded by Kiev, and those pockets of the Donbas becoming demilitarized as a result. Earlier this month, Zelensky noted that U.S. negotiators wanted these territories to become free economic zones once all troops are withdrawn. Ukraine's constitution requires any changes to the country's borders to be approved in a referendum. Zelensky reiterated Friday that the fate of Ukraine should be decided by the people of Ukraine and said Ukraine's allies have enough power to force Russia or to negotiate with the Russians to ensure that any such plebiscite could be carried out safely. For its part, the Kremlin has shown little sign of being willing to retreat from its demands. For weeks, Russian officials have insisted Ukraine withdraw all its troops from the Donbas, which would hand the area fully to the Kremlin. Asked Friday about the peace talks, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that Yuri Yushchenko, a foreign policy aide to President Vladimir Putin, has spoken to members of the Trump administration after Moscow had received the latest proposals for a deal. Peskov did not say when the conversation took place. So, what's my opinion on this? Well, it's pretty much where I've stood all along. As it now stands, I think that we can feel a little optimistic, but we still have to remain cautious. Zelensky has backed away from strongly held demands he has made in the past. And that's the risk for him and for his country. But he's in the best position to determine whether that's a risk worth taking. And apparently, he has received enough assurances from the United States and Europe that make him comfortable with making those from backing away from those demands. But he has done so in a measured response. By that, I mean negotiating with the United States, negotiating with the European allies, and even whatever back door they may have with the with Russia. But it's sort of a give and take type of approach. But he has basically put all his gems, all his valuables in one safe labeled U.S. Well, that's fine. If he trusts the United States and trusts Trump that much, that is a good sign. But he's got that also puts him at risk politically at home, anyhow. If it doesn't work, he might very well be looking for a new job. So I just have to wait and see what Sunday brings. President Trump hasn't really said much about it of late, and maybe he's playing his cards a little close to the chest right now. But I think the United States has the power, the ability to bring the light to Putin. He doesn't have a whole lot to bargain with. It's not like if the United States suddenly pulls out or stops all flow of everything, that he's going to just march in and take over. He's going to have to fight for every inch. And he should know that by now. I think that part of this is he's going to want, if he hasn't already put it in the agreement somewhere, that the criminal charges that exist today against him all be dropped. These are inhumane acts. Women being raped, pregnant women being cut up and killed, and their babies, unborn babies, destroyed, and they've also killed children. How children can be considered a threat, I do not know, but they literally have attacked schools and hospitals. Now they usually say, "Well, that's because the Ukrainians are using them." Well, they're not. That's a tactic that the Russians like. They got that from from the Arabs in the Palestinian area. or they may have given the Palestinians that idea. I really can't say with any authority on that. But what I do think I can say is that uh, he's he seems to be very reluctant, and I well be he needs some personal securities he's not going to bring out publicly, but they're being talked about privately. So we'll see about that. That might the Europeans, the Ukrainians themselves, the Ukrainian people might object to that one, and so I know I would if I was a Ukrainian. They let a mass murderer, get away. One of the things that I always get angry with is these police drama shows. They always come down with this idea that we're going after the big fish, so we have to hold off on the little fish. That may be a sound like a great logical way of going about doing law and order, but it's not. Um, you got to get rid of the scum, if you will, the bad guys, and you just work your way up the chain. Sooner or later, you're going to get there. It just may take longer, but you need to have some impact now uh, on the ground level where the rest of us live. Otherwise, crime will continue to live. They'll just you get their big guy, and they'll just find another guy to take his place. So anyhow, that's my opinion. I do hope that this is uh, helpful to you. I try to inform you, encourage you, and inspire you. And hopefully, you have liked the new changes that I'm working on. Tell your friends about this podcast. Have them check me out. I'm not afraid to have them check me out or check out what I'm saying. And they're always allowed to disagree with me, to um, argue with me if they want, as long as they do it in a respectful manner. I'll be willing to talk with them. And then if you support me, well, why not come online and support me? I can honestly say this, folks. I've had only one person who's ever complained about me. In fact, I think I reported it right in one of this podcasts, and that person has never said another word. In fact, I don't remember seeing that person again. So but that's okay too. Uh, but I want this to be an open invitation at all times, whether you agree with me or not. When we sit down and talk, we can reason out. I'm not a guru. I don't claim to have all knowledge. There's some people out there who do that. I'm not one of them. And so if you disagree with me, I would be excited about learning where you are in this and why you're there and what your opinions are. We might actually find we have some common ground. Well, you have a great day, and I'll see you in next week's video episode. But I'll see you then. You have a great day, and I'm looking forward to the new year. I hope you are too. Have a great day.